recording. Brilliant. Okay. Now we should be able to share my screen. Okay. Well, welcome everyone. I'm not sure if everyone knows everybody on this screen, so I'm going to give a moment. Oh, we've got someone else joined us. I'm going to give a moment for people to just go around and introduce themselves and possibly the project they're hoping to deliver. So I'm going to start with you, Chu Yen.
Okay, Chu Yen Laws here. I've done this once before, but it doesn't mean that I know it all. So I'm going to try and get some funding for Qigong and Tai Chi outdoors with nature and in nature.
Fantastic, thank you. Emma.
So I'm Emma, and I'm part of the Friends of Marion Wilson Park, and our project is entitled "Wouldn't It Be Lovely?" because it's the creation of community created and inspired wood sculptures for Marion Wilson Animal Park.
Fantastic.
So yeah, primarily for children and young adults.
Brilliant.
To get their hands dirty in nature.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you, Emma. Although it's on the screen as admin, it's Amika and Nike. Have I said that?
Yeah.
I said that correctly?
Yeah, thank you. I'm Amaka, and I just finished my GCSEs, and I also want to do a project to teach young children how to cook like healthy food instead of going to get just eat and unhealthy junk food.
Yay!
Thank you. There you go. There's already some support in the room. Brilliant. And Nike, you're there with us as well. Are you doing a separate project or is this a joint venture?
Yeah, it's a joint one. Brilliant.
I must point out that Amika and Nike are twin brothers, so they've both just finished their GCSEs.
Brilliant.
So well done, boys. Nena.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Chinyang. How is I normally run a program for young children during holidays. This time, I want to use the funding to help me take the children to Chessington Park so that they can have the full benefit of the summer holiday.
Brilliant. Thank you. Claudia, you're new to joining us on Zoom. Would you like to introduce yourself and possibly the project you're hoping to do?
Sure, yeah. Sorry, I was a bit late.
That's fine.
So as you know, I'm Claudia. I'm a chair-based exercise instructor, and I run exercise for all the adults and adults with living with disabilities. At the moment, I run some sessions at Clock House Community Centre. It's my first time applying for funding, and the Red Big Kick is sponsoring me to try to get this grant to try to run the session in Glendon or Plumstead area where someone would benefit from these exercises.
Fantastic. Thank you. Welcome, Claudia.
No, thank you.
As I pointed out to the people already on know that I'm recording this session. The only purpose is so that anyone who misses it and can't come in person can at least view a recorded session to help them. So today I'm going to be covering presentations. It's a presentation skills workshop to prepare you for your 3-minute presentation at the community voting day. There are other recordings of workshops I've done previously, so you are able to just send me a quick email and I can send you a copy of those as well so that you feel fully up to speed. So you should be able to see on my screen it says Community Voting Day Presentation Skills Workshop. Is that correct, everyone?
Yes.
Brilliant. So I'm going to use this as my aid memoir to help us through the process and give you an idea of what to expect on the day and how to prepare for your presentation.
Yep.
So, and I should say, I'm Gail Wallace, for those who don't know me as yet. So I'm leading on this project for the Royal Borough of Greenwich. So the order of the day is going to be like this. Each project that has put in an application will have 3 minutes to present, no more and no less. Yes, I saw Claudia's face there. 3 minutes. How can I say everything I've got to say in 3 minutes? You'll be surprised what you can get over in 3 minutes. However, there will be a handbook there that lists all the different projects, and whatever you've written in your application form, they'll put a little excerpt of that so people get a sense of that as well. So it'll be 3 minutes, no more, no less. And I'm very, very strict on that, I'm afraid to say. But for some people, 3 minutes feels like an eternity, and others, it goes far too quick. I need to warn you that only projects that present on the day will be considered. No shows get no shows get no consideration, that should say, and definitely no funding. However, that's not the end of the story in terms of if you are struggling to do the presentation yourself, you can get someone else to present for you. So if you struggle with any kind of issue about speaking verbally to anybody out there, you can get someone to present on your behalf. But to be fair to everybody who puts a project forward, we can't possibly consider voting if the person's not prepared to, you know, send a delegate at least to tell us a little bit about their project. What I need to say, as I say, with all the training that I give, if at any point there's a question burns in your head whilst I'm chatting, please stop me mid-flow. I don't mind. I'd rather you get the answer to your question than for me to just race through things and you miss out some essential information. Yep. And queries that you've got. Okay. The order of presentation you will not know before you turn up on the day. It's randomly selected. And the reason for this is to prevent people who just turn up who like, oh, my favourite project's on in the morning and it's the first one on, so I'm just going to turn up for that and then I'm going to go home after that. If people don't know when you're presenting, it encourages them to stay for all of the presentations, and that's what we want, is people to stay there for all of the presentations. But it's literally a couple of hours out of their life, and it's a couple of very enjoyable hours out of their life, I have to say, when they hear all these wonderful project ideas going forward that may or may not be voted to go on in their community. The other reason I don't give advance notice of when your project's going to be on is I don't want to give people undue nerves or too much time to kind of get in their head and think too intensely about it all, because it could rack you with nerves if I said you're the first project to go on, but equally it could rack you with nerves if I said you were the last project to go on. So rather than put you through that pain, you'll find out on the day, and once you look at the handbook, you'll know exactly what order you're presenting in. Any questions so far?
No, clear.
All good? Great. Then once the voting starts, I really need to let you know this: no one else is permitted into the meeting, into the hall. If you know of people that tend to, you know, if you say on the hour, they tend to drift in 15 minutes past the hour, give them a false time, tell them it starts at 1:45 to get them there on time, because I'm really strict about that as well. Once it starts, they can't come in. And that again is for the benefit of those presenting. The last thing I want is for presentations to be disrupted by the inevitable noise that is made when people come through a door, you know, squeaky doors, prams, and God knows what else. I don't want anyone to be put off. So I'm very strict about, you know, let's start as we mean to go on. So do give people a bit of pre-warning that if they arrive late, they may well be turned away. Well, in fact, they will be, unfortunately. Okay, so preparing for the day. The thing I want you to do is think about the most important things you want to remember about your project. And I think the most important things are the bit to concentrate on is the benefits your projects will have for the community. Because you've got 3 minutes, you haven't got a lot of time to get your points over. Please make notes about each part of your project. So if it's got two or three bits to it, make notes on each bit so that you make sure you cover the key parts of your project, and practice whatever you're going to say with friends and family. Go over it and just saying, this is what I'm hoping to say, etc., etc. But and I would suggest that you alter them just based on constructive criticism until you're happy with them. So please, please, please don't take your speech or your, that your presentation to the person who's most likely to criticize it in a negative way. Take it to the person who's likely to give you useful, helpful tips on improving your presentation. So approach people that you will tell you what you need to hear in a way that you need to hear it. I'm suggesting that any notes you make, you write them up in bold writing so that you can read them easily, because sometimes, with the heartbeat and everything like that, if you've written tiny little notes, if you're like me, a little bit of a scribbler, you'll find it sort of hard to see what you've written. So write them in bold, in capitals if that's helpful, and highlight any key words that you really want to emphasize. And key words would be things like the benefit, like improved health, sense of well-being, becoming more physically able and active. Those key words that you want to leave in the memories of the people that you're presenting to. Most importantly, number your notes so that you keep them in order. Because if you've got notes on a card and your cards get out of sync, you might the initial trying to get them back in order may fluster you. So number each card so that you can see where they should be slotted in. Any questions so far?
No, thanks.
You good? Okay.
Yep.
Then I'm going to teach you some memory tricks. So some people worry about remembering everything they've got to say. You can have cards there, but even with cards, sometimes you worry about missing out bits and pieces. So there's a thing called the memory palace. Has anyone heard of that?
Yes.
Yes. Good. I hope you're applying that, Julian.
Yes.
For those who don't know what a memory palace is, it's basically a way of remembering parts of your speech. So if your presentation, for example, has 5 parts to it, think of them as 5 rooms in your home. It could be your bedroom, your kitchen, your bathroom, your living room, or even your hallway. And then section your speech out and read out each part in each room. It may be a way to help you focus on it may be a good way to help you focus on an object in the room. So, for example, if you go into the kitchen, there's obviously a cooker. So you might want to put a sticker on the cooker. You might want to focus on the cooker when you're reading those notes out. You might want to put it on a kitchen drawer. On the fridge is an obvious one to put your notes up and focus on. In your bedroom, it could be a lamp or a headboard or a mirror. Bathroom could be a mirror, a cabinet, the towel rack, whatever object you want. And when you section out the parts of your speech, you can literally just do a little dress rehearsal in each room if you wanted to. Just read that part out in note form. And then what happens is sorry, I forgot to say, you can pop a keyword on there. So if you're talking about, let me think. Well, cooking's an easy one, isn't it, Amika and Nike? So the kitchen would be the starting point. And you might want to, I don't know what it's like in your home. Is the kitchen the heart of your home? Your microphone's off if you're answering me.
Yeah, kind of. I'm there almost every day. So
Okay. Do you eat in do you eat in a dining room? Do you eat in the living room? Do you eat
I eat in the living room
you eat in the living room? Do you eat kind of on your laps or on a table?
on a table.
On the table. So you might want to focus what that means to you. So you might be in the living room and you might use the living room table and you might put a sticker on that living room table because it reminds you of something like, well, it's a chance to talk to one another, refresh what's gone on in the day, or you get a warm feeling about things because you presented this lovely meal for Nena and your brother and the rest of the family. So you can put stickers and notes about that part of your speech in that space. And it just helps you it just helps to remind you when you're coming to your speech, you just visualize your living room and your dining table, and it will remind you of that part of your speech. The nice thing about a memory palace is that if you've got, and you don't on this occasion, but if you've got a very long speech to make, you can section all the bits up of it, and you can start with your own home. Then you can think about maybe your home when you were a child and what the rooms were like. So you can put sections of your speech in your childhood home. You might put them in the home of a mother, a nan or a granddad that you have warm memories of. So a memory palace can be as big as you want it to be. It can be, 20 rooms, 50 rooms, if it helps you write a speech. It's quite a useful technique. It's useful in lots of circumstances, but speeches in particular. And you can put all the associations in each of those rooms. And people who, you see these really impressive people who just seem to be able to remember lots and lots of facts and information. They often use the memory palace technique to store bits of that information in bite-sized chunks. Okay, any questions so far? So when you stand up and you give your presentation, all you need to do is just mentally enter each room in your memory palace to prompt you about what you're going to talk about. So when you're doing your speech, do it in the same order each time. So you can just imagine opening the front door. You might go into the living room first. That's the first part of your speech. You might get changed in the bedroom. That might be the second part of your speech. You might go and have a wash or a shower. That's the third part of your speech in the bathroom. You may then go into the kitchen, fourth part of your presentation. Whichever way round that suits you. It's just, you don't have to use this technique. It's just if you're worried about kind of forgetting bits, it's an additional support to remembering the parts of your speech. As I said before, it's 3 minutes. So do time yourself when you're speaking out your words, because 3 minutes may seem a long time, but it's actually quite short. Time what it is you have to say, and then cut out anything unnecessary. If you think, oh, I went over and I was like 3 minutes and 50 seconds, what can I trim down but still get my point across? And that way you'll ensure you keep within your time limit. But what I will warn you to is don't be tempted to speak fast to get your points across. It's very tempting to rush everything you got to say, and I'm going to do this fantastic project, blah, 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 blah. People will lose half of what you've got to say. So just keep your pace of speaking nice and even. You might even want to sort of do it to the pace of a tune that just to keep that pace nice and settled. I know that one of the tips I picked up when I did a lifesaver course, and it may not apply, so I'm going to look to Emma on this, was that if you're doing a CPR, doing it to the pace of Nellie the elephant packs her trunks and said goodbye to the circus is a good reminder of how many compressions you should be doing. Yeah, before you then give the 2 breaths or whatever it is.
Although we don't give breaths anymore, Gail.
Sorry?
We don't give mouth to mouth anymore.
Oh, okay. You don't give mouth to mouth at all. Well, there you go. You can just do your compressions to Nelly the elephant. But that was a really good way to make, for me at that time. But that was a really good way of remembering, kind of, if I got to the end of the bit and said goodbye to the circus, that I'd given enough compressions to the person. Fortunately, I've not had to practice, and by Emma's confirmation, I need to go on another lifesaver course to just check in what's changed in that respect. But yeah, so doing something to a tempo of a familiar song can make sure that your speech sort of is evenly paced. Okay. And you know, it is much better to edit out your words to ensure you come across clearly than try to fit every single thing that you can think of into that 3-minute presentation. Next part is leaving the best impression. So these are the 3 things that any person who, like me, I'm qualified and I do a lot of training and delivery, and those who are in that field will probably have heard of this expression called VACOG, and it's visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and the other 2 stand for olfactory and gustatory. You don't have to remember any of that. You'll be pleased to know. But please remember the first 3, visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. Forget the word kinesthetic. Let's look at the word feelings. So most people remember what they hear, what they see, and what they feel. And for some people, they may be more, they may have a more dominant, what we call dominant representational system. So someone who is predominantly auditory, uses their hearing to remember stuff, will be the person who said, well, I said to her so-and-so, and she said X, Y, Z. And they say, no, actually, what they said was, because they remember what they've heard. Someone, and I'm very visual, so forget telling me names of streets, but do tell me what's on those streets. If you said to me, well, look out for the big red building by the post box, and then you turn left there, and then there's a pub with green shutters on it, I remember that rather than you telling me, well, you turn down Princes Street and then you go down Queen Victoria Street. That's what visual people do. And I know when I've got lost because I don't recognise anything I see around me. And then I turn around and I spot something I recognise and I go, right, that's the direction I should go in. And for other people, they need to make an emotional connection to kind of understand the world. And I'll show you how that works in terms of giving a presentation. But please do stop me if I'm going too fast or there's any of this needs further explanation. So hearing people, you need to be clear and evenly paced in your speech. And where possible, describe your project in a form of sound. So you could say things like the room is filled with laughter, or it's a nice, quiet, calm atmosphere, or we play soothing music. Someone who's very auditory will automatically connect with those words that describe sounds or hearing, even if the sound is silence, they'll connect to it. Then those who are visual, if you have pictures, feel free to bring them up and hold them up and show them. But you can create a picture in the minds of people by describing, you know, how green. I'm going to use Chu Yen as an example. Chu Yen Tai Chi will be in the park, so she could describe the lovely flowers that you might see, and being connected with nature, and
Yep.
the green grass. Are you shoed or unshoed when you do Tai Chi?
Well, I prefer them to wear shoes because you never know what's out on the grass, and I
That's
don't want
true.
anyone getting hurt.
No, that's very true. That's very true. But you can describe the color, the rich color
Yeah,
of the grass and the
yeah,
changing colors of the tree, and autumn, winter, summer, and spring blossom. So those create really lovely visual pictures for people to connect to. Uh,
yeah,
and I'm thinking of Amika and Ike here in the sense that you can describe the vibrant colours of the food that you're going to cook, and how appealing it is to the eye, and how you'll present it to make people. I'm starting to salivate talking about, actually. How you present it so that it's like an explosion of colours on your plate and that sort of thing. When you use lots of different ingredients and fruits and vegetables, how much more appealing it is to the eye. Then if we go on to feeling, don't be afraid to let people have an emotional connection with your project. Talk about people being more happy, more confident, less afraid, or excited that your participants might be. You might want to say, talk about their sense of calm, or managing anxiety or fears. All of those are about making emotional connections with your project.
yep.
So sorry, someone spoke then.
No, sorry, I say yes.
Oh, okay. So if you just do one sentence that appeals to people's auditory hearing, one sentence that relates to what they might see in terms of your project, and one sentence that relates to how they might feel about it, then you have captured every person in that audience on one level or another. Emma's project is about wood sculptures in the park. Very easy to do in terms of visual, visual presentation. But you might also say things like, when you're walking round, you'll hear the rustle of the leaves underfoot, or the sound of the wind through the trees, or see the vibrant colours in the Marion Park. But you've also got animals in there, and they're all different colours as well, aren't they? So there's lots of connections you can make to it that are visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. The same being with chair-based exercise. You've got music, I'm assuming, so that's one clear one. Nice, lively, upbeat music. You've got the atmosphere in which they'll be, talking about it's a friendly, warm, inviting atmosphere where everyone feels at ease. When we talk about colours, you can say there's no dress code. You can wear bright colours if you like. You can wear casuals. I'm assuming I'm on the right page here, am I, Claudia?
Tick, 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 tick.
There you go. So every single project it is possible to describe in those three ways. And if you try to just pepper a little bit of that in, you will have captured the way in which some of the, all of those people receive information on one level or another. Any questions so far? We okay? Yeah. Pace is okay?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Okay. This is the important bit, and this is about combating nerves. I do a lot of public speaking, so I probably get a little bit of a butterfly stomach literally 30 seconds before I'm about to speak publicly. But as Nena knows, it doesn't show, does it, Nena? And even if I make a mistake, I laugh about it, because I've been doing it for a long, long time. But I do know that, people do get nervous, and I'm just going to give you some little tips and hints about reducing that level of nervousness. So, seems obvious, but get plenty of rest beforehand. Try and make sure that you have as calm a day as physically possible, or at least as calm an evening as physically possible the night before the community voting day, so the Friday night. Drink plenty of water the day before and on the day. And you'll see that I've put in bold letters, but not fizzy drinks, because fizzy drinks are going to, well, you're going to be filled with gas to start with. But secondly, they're not going to quench your thirst, and you need your whole body to be really well hydrated to enable you to give your peak presentation. And you might have heard that expression where someone says, "Oh, I was so nervous, I dried up," or I just, my mouth was dry and I couldn't speak. That is a literal representation of being dehydrated. And as we know, and Emma going to correct me on this, about 80% of our body is made of water. So, we need a lot of it. and when we are dehydrated, our body just sends the fluids to the most important parts of our body. And it's not our brain, it's our muscles, and it's our lungs, and it's our heart. So if you're dehydrated, it will shut the brain down. Your heart might be pumping a lot, but the words won't come to you because your brain's kind of just sticky and rattling around there. So please, please, please drink lots and lots of water, both the day before and the day of your presentation. And that way it'll enable you to access all that wonderful information that you want to impart to everyone. Then it's a nice exercise I do whenever I notice I'm feeling a bit stressed or I just need to be a bit calmer, and that's just take deep breaths. You'll be surprised how much we go through the day without breathing properly. We kind of breathe very shallowly from the chest. And one of the easy ways of doing this is just literally counting your breaths in and out, 1 to 10. If you lose count, you start again at 1, and you just slowly inhale and exhale. And you might want to do that just before you're about to go on, just to make sure your brain has got enough oxygen and you're feeling as possibly rested as you can be. Then I'm going to take you to a place, and I'm going to ask you to turn your cameras off in a moment for this exercise and the next one. Because, but before I do, I just want you to see, can you see on my hands here, this bit of flesh between my thumb and my forefinger here?
Yeah.
Can everyone see that? So I'm going to get you to just gently put your thumb and forefinger, I'm going to try here, like this, and hold those two things and just rest it on your lap. Because when I ask you to, I'm going to ask you to squeeze that area, give it a firm pinch. Yeah. So I'm going to ask you all to take your cameras off, because I'm going to do a little exercise with you to help you to relax. Okay, Nina, I can still see you, Nina.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Lovely picture, Nina. Okay, so I'm going to ask you, and I don't want you to use in words to describe. I want you to go deep into the thought process. So firstly, I'm going to get you to relax and rest back on your chairs. Make sure that your chair is holding your back firmly. And I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. And then I'm going to ask you to just travel to a place where you feel most calm and most relaxed. And only you know where that is. And just allow yourself to go there. And then I'm going to get you to think about that environment that you're in and visualize it and what makes you feel calm and relaxed in that space. And if there are any colours involved in that space that you're resting in that's really calm, I want you to turn those up so that they're really lovely and bright. So bright that you need a pair of sunglasses on to see them. And then I want you to think about what you hear in that space that's lovely and calm and relaxed. It may actually be the sound of silence. But whatever it is that you hear that helps you feel calm and relaxed in that space, I want you to turn that level up. And then I want you to go to the next part, which is about how you are feeling at that point in that relaxed and calm space. And I want you to turn that level of calm up. And I then want you to turn that level of relaxation up. And when you've turned up what you can see, what you can hear, and how you feel in that lovely, calm place, I want you to pinch as firmly as you like between your thumb and your forefinger. And then when you're ready, let go. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. And when you're ready, you can turn your screens back on. Have I lost you all? Have you gone to sleep? Oh. Chu Yen, you're going to join us. Have I made you feel too relaxed, Chu Yen? Your camera's not on yet. No.
You made me go to sleep. I just kept on yawning, girl.
Sorry? What was that?
I kept on yawning. I kept on yawning.
Ah, there you go. No, that's telling you you got to a relaxed state. Did you feel a little relaxed? Did you feel yourself sort of
yes,
just
yeah,
go into that space in that place? Yes, brilliant.
Yes, yeah.
So in here is your little bank. So whenever you want to feel that sensation, you now just pinch. And what should happen is the brain can't tell the difference between it being real or being fictional. So you've got this little technique here, and you can build it up as many times as you like. So it's a real big memory bank of places and spaces where you feel most calm and relaxed. And whenever you take yourself to that place, right at the end of the process of getting really calm, really relaxed, seeing all the wonderful things that you saw at that time, hearing the things, you just pinch it in. And then what happens is when you're in a point of feeling a little bit stressed and anxious or whatever it might be, you can literally just pinch and your body goes, oh, calm and relaxed. That's what you want me to be. Okay. And it just responds beautifully. And you can do this seconds before you're about to get up and speak. You can do this if you're having a particularly stressful day. You can nip into the loo, sit on the loo, do that, calm yourself and go, right, and off I go again, you know. So I gather by the response I got from everybody that it kind of worked in the moment and people felt a little bit more relaxed. You possibly may have felt, and I'm not suggesting that you did, but you possibly might have found a little part of your body that you think, oh, yeah, I didn't realise that's a little bit knotted there, because what it does is that it relaxes the body sufficiently that anything that's not about being relaxed pings up and says, oh, this bit's not relaxed here and I need to, you know, do something about that. So this is a technique that you can use anytime, any place, any space, but you can use it particularly when you're about to give your presentation. Just get yourself in that, you know, perfect zone of relaxation so that the words flow and you feel comfortable. You can go for a brisk walk. I suggest you do that before the doors close. Just to, you know, get out of your head and into your body and, you know, limber up that way. And then I'm going to get you to do another exercise. And this time I'm going to ask you to turn your cameras off, because I don't think you want me recording the faces you might pull going through this exercise. So what I'm going to do is, again, ask you to turn your cameras off for a moment. And then what I'm going to suggest is, firstly, scrunch up your neck and shoulders. I'll do it on the screen. It doesn't matter that you can see me. So you scrunch up your neck and shoulders as hard as you can. You scrunch up and in your arms into your hands into a fist and tense those up. And then you tense your legs and your toes, scrunch it up as hard as you can, and then release. And then you do the same again, one more time. You scrunch up, neck, shoulders, arm, fists, legs, toes, feet, and release. And then third time, scrunch right up, arms, legs, neck, feet, fists, and release. Now I'm going to get you to turn your cameras back on again. Okay. Has anyone noticed anything in their body when they did that exercise? Oh, I can see Emma did. Because Emma immediately went like that. Did you notice where you're holding your tension in your body when you started to release? It kind of tells you where you're sort of holding all that tension in. When you scrunch up like that and you release a few times, your body sort of says, oh, that's not quite released, and you actively work on loosening those bits of you up. So that's a nice exercise, and you kind of just shake your arms and legs loose afterwards to just get rid of any tension that's in your body. Hopefully that will take you into the peak position of being able to present, and your body just flowing and going with the flow in the way that you want it to, rather than holding tension. When you're holding tension, you stop breathing well. When you stop breathing well, it's easy to kind of stumble over your words and not feel as relaxed as possible. So those are a couple of things about combating the nerves on the day. I will be there, and if I don't remember at the start of it, somebody prompt me, because I will go through the visualizing being in a calm and relaxed place part, so that we can get everybody in the peak possible condition, whether they're presenting or listening to your presentation, so that they're in a nice, calm, supportive atmosphere. Any questions? No? If you've got any techniques that you use that are tried and tested, by all means use those too. And Claudia, with your chair-based exercise, I'm sure you have many of those up your sleeve, haven't you?
We do have a few. I was thinking with the sessions, we do have a relaxation in the end as well, so to support breathing and yeah, just let the body go after all the lovely games and exercises we did during the session.
Fantastic.
And they love it. Yeah, they
Yeah.
love it.
So you could even use that as part of your presentation. You could say, I'll just give an example of how you feel afterwards. And
we
you
have a lovely, yeah, we do have a lovely music in the end, yeah, for
fantastic.
Practicing our, as you did say, we don't breathe properly,
No.
very shallow throughout the day, and we do work on that as well on the chair-based exercise. Yeah,
Fantastic, fantastic. So the most important thing to remember when you're giving your presentation is speak from your heart. It doesn't matter about fancy words you might use. Just talk about your passion for your project, what it means to you and what it potentially means to the community. If you speak with passion, that will come across. Please remember, it's all about the project. You have no time to tell people about you. As interesting as I know you all are, you've got no time to do that. You've got no time for questions. There's not an opportunity for people to ask questions. So try and get the most important points across. And think about, if someone was going away with 3 key things to remember about my project, what would I want them to go away remembering? And get those points across. What do I want them to remember about me, or my me or the project that I'm trying to get funding for? And try to keep it light and not serious. Keep it light-hearted, keep it about joy and fun. People engage with things more readily if they're fun. If I stood there and said, well, I'm really going to tell you about my Tai Chi program, and people really enjoy it, but it's very mentally stimulating, and you might enjoy yourself, but we do have people with lots of ailments, and it does sorry, Chu Yen, but do you see what I'm saying? That kind of serious tone is like, oh, I'm going to go to sleep, I don't want this project, I don't want that person delivering it. Whereas I know Chu Yen has got wonderful, wonderful bouncy energy, because I remember from her presentation in 2021 that she came in like a firestorm and told everyone about her project and was just full of energy when she did so. And it was a joy to listen to. So, you know, I'm not expecting you to bounce up and down like Tigger, but be a bit joyous. That's all. Just be a bit joyous and not serious about it. All that remains for me to say is good luck. I will be with you the entire day. If I see, I usually can spot if people are kind of having a little bit of panic, and I might take you to one side before it starts if we need to, and just get you to relax. If I get the opportunity, I will do so. But I'm there. Just imagine you're talking to me. That's all you need to do. Is I'm telling Gail about my project. Don't worry about people in the space. They're all there rooting for good projects to happen in their community. So they're all there with the right intentions and the right support, and they will be full of admiration for everybody and anybody who gets up and talks. If you stumble on your words, don't worry about it. Just leave them to one side and start with the next thing. I use humour to deflect. If I say something wrong, I laugh at myself. But just enjoy it, and it's a really good opportunity to see other projects that are going on or wanting to go on in the borough, and to connect with that community. To increase your rate of success, do start talking to people in the community in which you hope to do your project, and encourage them to come along. So Claudia, you said you do chair-based exercise in at Clock House.
Yes, did she? Yeah, that was my question there. I want to ask to you if I could invite them as well there.
Unfortunately, it's
outside.
It's only the residents who live in that area who can vote. However, there will be lots of people inviting people from those areas, and they do have to vote for all the projects. Please don't think because you don't maybe know lots and lots of people who live in the area that it's going to sort of prejudice your application at all. It won't, because if people like what you're doing and they want what you're doing, they will vote. People are very, very fair. And if they like the idea of your project coming to their area and being provided, you'll see the votes reflect that. So yeah, do encourage. And if you also, having said that, what I will say to you is you never know who knows who. So the people that are coming to your project at the moment may have friends, family, relative of some kind, some connection with the area that you're hoping to deliver your project in. Tell them about it and say to them, if you've got, say it's Plumstead and Glendon, if you've got relatives living in Plumstead and Glendon, can you let them know, and can you encourage them to come along to the community voting day? Because we never know who knows who. And you know, the borough of Greenwich, I think about where I lived. I've got family members that lived 7 miles, 3 miles, 5 miles. I've got family members who live even further than that. So quite often people have these connections in these communities. So don't be afraid to talk to them about it and encourage them to encourage those people to come along.